Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Jack Conti. I'm the CEO and co founder at Patreon, and you're watching Behind the Brand with Brian Elliott.
Yeah, it's almost like we need that your mileage may vary, disclaimer, right? Like in every advice video. And by the way, I love your channel. I love the music stuff that you do. It's super contemporary and fun and groovy, if I may say so. And also, I love your advice channel. I think it's super solid. I mean, you really strike me as an OG, someone who's just been doing it from the get, who's still trying to innovate and not afraid to learn new things or try new things. So good on you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I want to go back to what your mom said too and just say one more thing, which is, some of this general advice, like stay in school, it's not necessarily bad. I think, intention's everything, of course, but like the advice that your mom was giving you is sort of a proximity nugget, which is if you could just sort of stay in the proximity of academia, good things will probably happen. It doesn't even really matter whether you get your film degree or degree in botany or nuclear physics or whatever. It's just like, when you're in that proximity, good stuff generally happens. And then when you have a piece of paper too that shows that you've completed something, that's not entirely terrible advice. I'm also someone who believes that there's lots more than just one right answer. I mean, getting education, getting the degree could be a great thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be the end-all be-all. Or leaving school, like, Elon Musk will tell you, we don't need degrees anymore. Microsoft, Apple's announced the same thing. We don't need people with degrees. We just need smart people to bring their brains and solve interesting problems, and we want you, So let's go back to the artist roots. I'm someone who cares about nature versus nurture. I can tell you personal stories about why I care about that. I've shared this on the channel before, but I want to hear it from you. How much of this sort of artist in you do you think is nature or nurture?
I like to think that I can, and I'm a optimist. So take that with a grain of salt. But like, I like to think that if I set my mind to it, I can do whatever I want to do, and I can like whatever I want to like, and I can, learn anything I want to learn, and I try to carry that thought around with me. It's a very empowering feeling, and even if it's not 100% true, I convince myself that it is, so that at least I try, and so I guess what I'm saying is I often get a kick out of going against my nature. So if I feel like that is just not something I'm meant to do, I'm not supposed to do that. That makes me 10x more excited about it, because then I get to prove to myself that philosophy is true. That like all I have to do is set my mind to it and I can do it. Like speaking frankly, what business do I have being a CEO? Like, I'm a YouTuber, I'm an artist, I've been a musician. Like, now, like, I'm running a tech company. What business do I have running a tech company? And like, I've really put my mind to it. I've tried to learn. I've done the executive coaching. I've spent hours. I've read so many books. Like, I enjoy feeling like, hey, this is something that even if, I don't have the perfect brain for this or the perfect demeanor for this or the perfect set of skills for this, I enjoy feeling like I can just make it happen anyway. And so I guess I try not to focus too much on the nature side, because it goes kind of against that core belief that, well, if I just put my mind to it, I can do it. So the artistry, I guess your question was how much does your enjoyment of the art come from nature? And I've never had to work to enjoy making art. That feels, I really like it. And I just like it. I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, it reminds me of something Sir Ken Robinson said. He passed away this last year. Was really fortunate to spend a little bit of time with him and call him a friend. And he was on this show a few years ago. And of course, he has like the most popular TED Talk of all time, talking about the fact that, we tend to mitigate or minimize the importance of the arts when we compare it to the sciences or other disciplines, But he said we need artists as much as we need mathematicians and scientists, as much as we need painters. And he talked about, in fact, wrote a book called The Element, which is all about finding your true calling. Also reminds me of that Mark Twain quote, right? Where he says, like, there's two important days in your life. One is, the day that you were born, and the second one is when you figure out why you were born, right? And so I'm always in pursuit of trying to find out what my element is, whether it's, fish to water, bird to air. And that's why I ask about nature versus nurture, because it seems like you kind of came out of the womb creative. You're hardwired this way. Also, I'm picking up on this kind of throughput or this thread that I find very common in, I would say, 100% of the entrepreneurs I talk to, which is this optimistic spirit. Whether it's accurate or a distortion, like I can do anything, or I can figure out how to do whatever I put my mind to, I think that's also a very key element. I want to talk about signals because, again, people who are trying to navigate this road, there's also a counter argument which says, okay, I'm in the camp of do what you love because, and I think Steve Jobs said this too, right? You have to do what you love because otherwise it's not going to scale. You get burnt out. But I'm in that same camp because it doesn't feel like work to me when I'm doing my work. And if I continue to hone my craft, I'll eventually become amazing at it. But there's also a counter argument which says, pursue what you're great at and then try and fall in love with it. Because, respect and money and all the other things that are necessary to live are usually a byproduct of great work, right? And so if you just fall in love with something you're great at, even if, accounting is like, sticking a hot poker in your eye, you could probably find a way to love it and make a great living at it and live comfortably. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh,
Deep sigh.
I mean, in what, 40 years? If I'm super lucky, in 40 years, I'll be gone for trillions of years, and then trillions of years after that, times trillions of years, forever. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think about that at night. Like I wake up and I think about the fact that this is it. We get like this little speck of time. And I know that's trite at this point. Everybody talks about the sort of shortness of life, but God, I don't know how you could spend time doing something that just doesn't feel like energizing. I mean, even. And when I say energizing, I don't necessarily mean that like it's just joyful, like sliding down a slide, like not that kind of joy. But our finance leader at Patreon calls it type 2 joy. It's the joy of learning how to surf and being underwater all day and getting back up on the surfboard, and then a wave comes and crashes you down. You can't figure it out, and then a wave comes, and then you're underwater, and then you almost drown, and then you pop back up. Like there's a deep joy in that struggle, Yeah. And like if you just do something that you're great at, like what's the fun? I don't know, maybe it's not good advice, but like what's the fun in that? Like I want to learn something that I suck at and like get really good at it, and then also do the things that just bring me a ton of energy and that I love, and that I feel like my skills will get better over the years. I mean, music is a great example of that. When I started making music, I sucked at music. My God, my songs were so bad. I literally, like, there's some songs I hope they never see the light of day on the internet. I'm praying that they never do. The lyrics are terrible. My time is terrible. The production is terrible. The songs are terrible. But I just loved the creation process so much that like I found myself doing it all the time. I would open up my computer and just work for 20 minutes. And every time I did that, it was like lifting weights. And 5 years later of going to the gym for 6 hours a day, like in all the cracks and whenever I could, I had big old music muscles and I could make really good sounding stuff. And yeah, I don't know that you can get there unless it's just coming straight from the heart. You know, again, maybe that doesn't work for other people, but for me, that's how I think about it.